Come on, Soda Pop, let's go.
Item 7, 3106-2015, rezoned from the I-1 Light Industrial District to the RA3 Apartment Residential High Density District for allowed forms located at 3801 West Technology Circle.
Good evening, Jeffery Schmitt, representing planning staff on items before you at Planning Commission this evening. This item number 7 is in the south central southwest part of town. As you can see on the zoning map in front of you, it's currently zoned I-1. It's coming out of a planned development district from the old zoning ordinance, and I-1 allows the most land uses in the city of Sioux Falls, including institutional, office, as well as retail businesses. It is a 1.4 acre site. It's currently vacant. It's been vacant since this site was developed, this area was developed. Directly to the east is the City of Sioux Falls, the Sioux Area Metro's transfer station, and then Louise Avenue. The request is to rezone this I-1 site, this 1 acre site, to RA3, this 1 acre site. RA3 would be allowing for residential apartments in this location. The proposal is for, I believe, just under 40 units or around 40 units of apartment zoning. 39 units with associated parking and the ability to use the transfer station for busing also at the end of this site. Staff comments were that there were no comments from water, police, sewer, fire, or zoning. Drainage comments are standard, that the site would have to take care of its own drainage on site, and so you can see there's a best management practice drainage facility there. And the land use analysis for this site is, if the rezoning is approved, the applicant can construct apartment buildings of unlimited size. If the rezoning is denied, the parcel can be developed for office, retail, or light industrial uses. This does comply with the City of Sioux Falls' comprehensive plan, and staff recommends the rezoning.
All right, thank you, Jeff. Commissioners, are there any questions for staff? All right, seeing none, is the petitioner here? Good evening, Erica Beck, Lloyd Companies. We have been looking at this site actually for quite some time, just because we feel really strongly about the marketability of it for multifamily residential. It's taken us a while to get it under contract. We actually just got it under contract on July 23rd, so even after the petition date for rezoning. But we feel really good about the proximity of it to the bus transfer station, employment centers, shopping, dining, entertainment, and therefore it being marketable to both market rate units as well as affordable housing, if that's something that we can pursue on the site. As Jeff indicated, we do show on the site plan that we actually just got done yesterday, pedestrian access to the bus transfer station. We haven't had a conversation with the city about that yet, but we do feel very strongly that if given the opportunity to build these units on the site, we would certainly want to try to provide some sort of pedestrian access directly to the bus transfer station and encourage the residents that are living there to utilize that facility. Our current concept, as Jeff said, shows the construction of 39 housing units on the site with associated parking. We feel pretty good about that right now. I don't think that we could probably accommodate any additional units other than that, given the amount or the size of the land and the need to have adequate parking there as well. The box that's shown just to the south of that apartment building is labeled PG, that's playground, because we do feel like we'll have 1s, 2s, and 3-bedroom units here that can accommodate families if necessary, so we'll have a playground on the site as well. We haven't had necessarily comments in regards to the need for a BMP, but we have indicated one as far as a location on the site, just in case that is a comment that we receive back from engineering. I actually just wanted to point out, I had a conversation with Mary Michaels from the City Health Department. She's actually responsible for the city's Live Well campaign, Live Well initiative, and she talked a lot about, well, she actually brought in a speaker, I think it was about a year ago now, Mark Fenton, who talked about creating walkable places and the necessity of doing that and trying to encourage the incorporation of true neighborhoods into the community and making sure that within those neighborhoods we provide for a variety of uses. And when I was describing this project to her, she had sent me a lot of information following that conversation supporting that effort. And one of the things that I wanted to point out, because I know that when we had a neighborhood meeting on this project, I think it was a week and a half ago now, one of the comments was, well, I'm not entirely certain if I can support this project just from the standpoint that it could detract from the value of the land surrounding it. And one of the slides that Mary had sent me, and I have that here tonight if it can be put up on the screen, I'm not certain, but it basically states that, or it indicates that places with higher walkability perform better commercially and have higher housing values. And then it gives some examples of communities in which that was actually rated. So we don't ever necessarily incorporate that into our evaluation of a site as far as the existing or surrounding valuations. But I felt like that was important to note just because of that comment that we received at the neighborhood meeting. The other comment that we received at the neighborhood meeting was with regard to the creation of additional traffic on West Technology Circle. And just the fact that, the addition of housing units there would create additional traffic. And so there was some concern about that and whether or not the city, we were asked whether or not the city would allow us access to the site from the bus transfer station. And at that meeting, I had indicated that we had not made that request, but I did supply that or make that request to Jason. I don't anticipate that the city will allow us to do that, but for the sake of trying to get a response to that, we did ask that question. One of my comments at the neighborhood meeting in response to that comment about additional traffic was that with the existing zoning that's on the site today and it allowing everything from retail uses to office uses, we probably wouldn't be creating any additional traffic. I guess from my perspective, then those uses would. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have. Otherwise, I'll go sit down.
All right, thank you. Commissioners, any questions for the applicant?
Quick question, Erica. Excuse me. That last part about connecting to the bus transfer station,
Yes.
you were referring to vehicle traffic in that comment, not foot traffic, or either?
One of the comments that we had received at the neighborhood meeting was that it would be great if the city allowed us to connect via vehicle to the bus transfer station as an additional access point for this site. We want to connect, and it's shown actually on the site plan, with pedestrian access to try to encourage our residents to use the Southwest Bus Transfer Station.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone in the audience that would like to address this item? Please come forward and state your name and address.
My name is Heath Koyman. Our business is located at 4500 South Technology Drive, which would be directly to the west of the proposed site, 2 parcels. I assume that you guys all received our letter.
Could you maybe just step forward a little more and talk into the
I
microphone?
assume you guys all received the letter that we wrote with our displeasure towards this and the rest of our neighbors, because I haven't found a single neighbor that was for this yet. So if you guys have any questions about that letter, I can comment about that further if you like.
Madam Chair, excuse me, I don't know that I got the letter. If I did, I didn't read it, I apologize. Specifically, what are your basic objections?
Wasn't the intended use for the property. We strongly feel that our property values will be diminished because of it. When my business partners were at the original meeting that Lloyd Companies held, they were unsure as to what exactly they were going to do. The comment was made that, it'll be very nice, affordable, $1,000 a month rent, something of that nature, and that the city was pleased because of the close proximity to the bus station. It's my opinion that people that have the financial ability to afford $1,000 a month rent probably don't necessarily use a lot of public transportation. Although I do agree with her comment, everybody should be encouraged to use it. Those are, based off of that comment and not having a layout, which I understand based on the timing that they had, not being able to get it done by then, I can completely respect that. But the other comment that was made is that they're considering affordable housing. And I don't believe that that's going to increase our property values in any way, regardless of what the tenant is there, whether it's the most beautiful rental apartment available in town or anything to the converse.
So it's your feeling that property values is your largest concern, traffic, secondary concern?
Correct. You'll see, if you had the letter, and I neglected to bring it along with me this evening, I'm sorry, but if you had the letter amongst the others that were written today, you'll see the major amount of the concerns. Traffic, yeah, is a concern. We don't have any major traffic problems in that area right now. 53rd and Louise is not the safest intersection, really, especially when it's icy and you're traveling east on 53rd. It's slightly dangerous.
Madam Chair, could I just, one more follow-up. Assuming that this proposal fails, it goes back to light industrial. You don't have any concerns that perhaps a light industrial type of complex could be built there that would be far greater in traffic and probably less appealing than an apartment house? Has that ever crossed your mind?
Not until it was brought up earlier by Erica. But if that's the intended use for the original zoning, then when we purchased our lot in 92, 91 or something like that, we knew that. In 91 or 92, when we purchased this lot, there was never an intention for there to be apartments there. It was never zoned that way. The developer didn't have those intentions either. The developer was so very cautious of what they did that the covenants ran 20 years.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
No, thank you.
In the event it passes, do I get notified or should I just stay around? So if it does pass and to be rezoned, we're going to appeal.
Go to city council.
Yeah, it goes
City council first.
Okay. All right, thanks.
Is there anyone else in the audience that would like to address this item? All right, seeing none, I'll look for commission action.
Madam Chair, I have a question for staff before we do that.
All right.
Jeff, it was a planned unit development before, right?
That's correct.
You know what, this was before Shape Places, it was, the PUD was, were apartments considered as part of that PUD? Do you know off the top of your head?
Yes. Okay. It was the Technopolis planned unit development. It included everything between 49th and 57th Street from the interstate over to Louise Avenue. Okay. So if you can envision that area from the interstate to Louise Avenue, from 49th Street down to 57th Street,
Yep.
it has everything in it.
Yep.
Okay, he is absolutely correct. This sub-area, probably this parcel, did not include apartments. But the entire land area, you have Valhalla, there's apartments on the south, on the west, on the north, there's apartments throughout here, including Hematech, which is the industrial development, the post office, warehouse, distribution. So this is a real mixed use. This is everything that we've always asked for in planning, where people can live and work and shop, and there's retail in here, and there's condominiums in here. And so then when we came to rezone it, we didn't want to prohibit the property owners and say, guess what, we're only going to give you office. And then they'd come back and say the exact same thing they said tonight. Wait a minute, you can't give us office. We had rights. So we gave them everything, which includes they can basically do what they want out here. The property owner has the right to develop it along a busy corridor.
Madam Chair, one follow-up question. What is included in I-1? What could be there?
In I-1, it's going to be light industrial, warehouse and distribution. It's almost easier to say what you can't have in there, because in I-2, industrial 2, it's heavy. where you would have batch plants and meat processing. And so in the I-1, it's everything that's light. You're going to have warehouse, distribution, storage buildings, manufacturing, but not heavy manufacturing. So if you can keep it inside with some outside storage, you can do that. As soon as it starts to have more noise and it has fumes from a creamery, distilleries, you can't do those heavy uses here. But everything else, light industrial, you could have here, which is what they kind of have down to the south and the west.
Okay. Sorry, Madam Chair, one additional one. One thing I think I saw in the letter was the talk of spot zoning.
Yeah.
Can you maybe define that for us?
Yes, we can. They brought up a really good point. And Planning Commission's familiar with this, but to bring it out to the public. Spot zoning is something that you've heard 30 or 40 years ago and maybe even 10 years ago. We completely addressed that back in 2003 with the new zoning ordinance. Spot zoning is illegal. You can't do spot zoning. And then we go on to clarify that spot zoning is not allowed in this area, but what is allowed is that you can go into an area and allow people to have the same zoning rights as any other property owner. Okay, I'm paraphrasing. But what you can't do is give someone a right and not give someone else the right to do that. That is spot zoning and is illegal. So if someone would come in here and say, I want to do it, and you'd say no, and the next person comes in and we'd say yes, well, then you've spot zoned their property.
Right.
But we're not doing that. We're saying everybody publicly has the right to do this. If they want to come in and own the property and do something with it, it's completely legal. And then we basically say we're not discriminating. You have a right to change that zone.
So spot zoning is not zoning a spot.
Correct.
It's more about who, trying to declare who can or who can't.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Jeff. I will look for commission action.
I'd like to make a motion to approve for discussion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Discussion.
A little bit of a first here, at least in my experience with this commission, that a residential property is getting scrutinized by office and industrial tenants. Usually it's the other way around. I don't want to presume what the surrounding property owners were thinking here, but while this is unusual, or maybe not, maybe the original intent for this side of this Technopolis metro or officeplex, this isn't the first I've seen. I've seen on the west side near Holy Cross Church where there's an office zoned plot next to townhomes and residential single family and a rather sizable utility infrastructure in that area. So this doesn't, from what Jeff just clarified, spot zoning, or is this unprecedented? I don't see that in either case.
All right. Thank you.
Madam Chair? I would also say that this is a rezone, so we're looking at, does it make sense to have high-density apartments next to office and industrial? And I think that's allowed almost everywhere we go, that wouldn't be an issue.
All right. Thanks, Nick.
I also find it interesting that this particular piece of land, obviously there's the bus transfer right next to it, but right across the street is a whole series of apartments that have maybe a little bit smaller character, but a similar kind of scale to them. And so there does make some sense from an overall planning standpoint to have like facilities near each other where it makes sense. And so it seems to be compliant in that kind of a consideration as well.
All right. Any other discussion? We have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes.
Come on, Soda Pop, let's go. Come on, let's go. Come on.